I heard the funniest thing. This is awful, but I on one of the comment feeds of the news story, the guy climbing Trump Tower, the glass above him was shaking, and they're saying Harambe's gonna jump out and grab him inside the building, and that's exactly what the police did.
I'm running for president.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode number 3 of the Liberty Boys podcast, aka
Lib Chat,
the chattiest of the libs. My name is the Dylan Allman, and I'm here with Max Eckert.
No thee. I guess we can kind of get started. Did you hear about that guy that started scaling Trump Tower? Honestly, probably 3 hours ago.
Yes, I did. That was kind of funny. Apparently, he posted like a YouTube video beforehand and was like explaining how he was going to do that to go talk to Trump. I don't understand how he thought that was a good idea. He was going to climb up Trump Towers, and Trump was going to be in there, like just sitting at his desk, and he was just going to climb through the window and be like, "What's up?" and talk to him. I don't
exactly, and apparently that was a logical idea for him to kind of follow through on for some reason.
And it did not go well for him. I mean, he got a very large spotlight.
He got like 19 stories up, but then they essentially just like grabbed his ass real quick and grabbed him inside the building. He just kind of like went off camera, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay." And the news station, I was watching it on CBS, I think, and they were saying that people were cheering that he was getting caught. I'm like, hell no, they weren't cheering. If I saw it happen, I'd probably be booing too.
Yeah.
Like, keep going, man.
Yeah, exactly. I would want to watch
thing.
that. They said they had to take him to the hospital because he was so exhausted, apparently.
Oh, I'd imagine that's even just for a regular climber, that's quite a distance upward. Strangely enough, I was really hoping in my own fantasy world that was Gary Johnson climbing Trump Tower and just like, I'm gonna make my way into these debates one way or another. And he always talks about like climbing mountains and stuff, so I'm just like, would it be that strange to see him just like climbing Trump Tower? Like, hey.
Oh, that would have been so great. I mean, he would have gone to jail, but
publicity and everything. That would have been great. And we're like, oh wow, who's this Gary Johnson guy climbing Trump Tower?
That's another candidate for president? What?
Like, I want that guy in there. I guess that kind of leads into since we kind of touched on Gary Johnson already, kind of something that I wanted to touch on briefly here. I know I've had, yeah, whip it good. No, anyway, I was talking to a group of my colleagues, and this is an issue I've heard come across of some of my friends who are also libertarian and who also support Gary Johnson, is that whenever you discuss him with someone outside of the Libertarian Party, I would say a good 90% of the time, the other person will start off just kind of dismissing him in general because of his odds aren't good to have him winning. Mm-hmm. So the argument that I had with some colleagues today, they were discussing just Gary Johnson, and I'm kind of asking me about him, and one of my friends had mentioned I was ruining the election.
Ruining. You're gonna rue the day.
Like ruining the election because I was getting Hillary voted in by voting for Gary Johnson.
See, the funny thing is people will say that on either side. I've had people that'll say, "Oh, wow, you're gonna vote for Gary Johnson? That's just a vote for Trump." Or, "Wow, you're gonna vote for Gary Johnson? That's just a vote for Hillary." It's very funny how equally upset both sides are that Gary Johnson is taking votes from their candidate.
And we essentially have this false narrative of that he is somehow being extremely detrimental to one campaign or the other. At least in this case, it was for Trump that I was going to make Hillary president. And the thing I immediately come across whenever I see someone with differing views, I kind of like to know what their stance is on policy to see if this is even a valid argument that they're presenting, or is this just something kind of a fanboy status that they had for Trump or Hillary or whoever we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, which one of your policies do you like from Trump? And the immediate response that you'll usually get from that is talking about, we need to work on immigration.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the hardest pressed issues that I've seen from Trump, and it's pretty clear what his stance is on that. And so that's kind of what I was expecting. And I'm like, well, I guess here's a more current and present issue. What do you think about us sending $1.15 billion of military assets to Saudi Arabia? And that was kind of a loaded question to an extent, considering all the issues that we have had with the Middle East. I mean, why are we sending military assets to a Middle Eastern country which is practicing the very things that we're condemning ISIS for?
Because Barack Obama, that's why.
Yeah, because somehow Barack Obama's a Muslim or something.
Yeah. Well,
And-
he
anyway,
supports sending all that money to them when
right.
you know,
And so
they've admitted that they don't know that money may be going to terrorist acts, and I think that's ridiculous.
And whenever you bring upon questions like that, specifically with more conservative people, they're just like, of course, no. Well, why are we doing that? I don't. And the most common answer is, I don't think we should be in the Middle East at all. And that kind of brings me to my next part of my argument at that time. It's just like, well, that's a very libertarian view of yours. It's a very non-interventionist policy. If we're not being attacked, why are we over here?
Mm-hmm.
Granted, we have had terrorist attacks happen in the U.S., and I believe that there would be a need for repercussion and consequence at that time. But our whole involvement in the Middle East over the past 40 years hasn't been necessarily in response to being attacked. I mean, given we have had 9/11 and several incidents that would be acceptable to take action upon, not necessarily war, I would say, but that's kind of a libertarian value that they had that they didn't even realize that they had. I'm like, well, that's a very libertarian value of yours. And as we got talking and kind of progressing through libertarian policy in general, they soon realized they have a lot of libertarian values, and hey, they might actually like Gary Johnson. And at that point, we're kind of on the same page on policy. So I'm like, okay, so they found out they're libertarians. This is great, right? We have more people voting for Gary.
Mm-hmm.
But in turn, they still hung on to the narrative that Gary doesn't have a chance of winning, so why would they vote for him? And that's a difficult thing to really debate, because at that point, that person has already dismissed or presented the fact that they're fully knowledgeable of the person's policy, and they completely agree with everything Gary has to say, but they're still not going to do it regardless, no matter what you tell them, because they already agree with you on policy. So they have no reason to switch over, and at that point, it's just kind of a stalemate. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Because you can't physically present them with new poll numbers. You can present them with new information to change their mind on policy all you want, but if they're still going to be ignorant to the fact that that he's even a potential candidate of someone that they're able to vote for, that's what do you do with that?
Right. Yeah, I just that kind of argument is just so dumb.
It's immature. Is what it is. It's like the entire logic of that is, I'm not going to vote for this person because I don't think other people are going to vote for this person. So it's a complete failure of democracy at that point, because you're no longer voting for someone to represent you in government, which is what our country is founded upon. That's how our government works. You vote for people to represent you in government. That's what a republic is.
As soon as you have to vote for somebody, that's no longer democracy. That's a complete flawed logic that just because you don't think someone else can win means you don't vote for them.
And their argument is, at that point, is their representation is more important than yours. That's essentially what that your values and what you feel is your best representation for yourself in government is somehow inferior to what theirs is. That's what the argument is that I am somehow hurting their vote towards Trump by voting for someone who I think best represents me, and that's a complete flaw of democracy.
Yeah, and they say that you're wasting your vote voting for Gary Johnson or voting for any third party who, in quotes, doesn't have a chance to win. No, they're wasting their vote voting for someone that they don't believe in or someone that they don't like or agree with. That's wasting your vote, not voting for someone that you believe in.
Absolutely. So that we really need to work as a collective to dismiss that false narrative, and that's honestly a logical fallacy. It's you're essentially turning the biggest election in the entire world, like on a global platform, the most impactful in my opinion. You're turning this job into essentially nominating prom queen and making it the same importance as that, because you and your friends are wanting to team up to make your friend prom queen, even though she may not be the most deserving. And that's essentially what this has turned into. And this is like, oh, vote for Trump. Policy doesn't matter.
Trump doesn't even have any clear policies. He'll flip flop on stuff all the time because he doesn't actually know what anything means. And
he doesn't. And the argument you get is he's going to get people to come along, and he's going to get the right people hired. Who are these people then? Because I'm not only voting for Trump at that point. I'm voting for these other people who are apparently going to be running his entire administration.
It's crazy. People will say, he's going to get people around him that know what they're talking about. He's going to learn about these things. In what world is electing someone who doesn't already know about politics to be the president of the United States? That's insane. That's so baffling to me that people are willing to vote someone in who they actively know isn't smart in the thing that they're running for.
And I'm all for the common man being standing up and being elected into office, and businessmen are fine with that. But at least have some knowledge of policy before going into it.
Exactly.
I'm not even talking necessarily having previous experience as a politician, although I think that does help.
Mm-hmm.
I know that gets a negative view nowadays, but I think having political experience helps, because then you're able to interpret and I'm sorry, not interpret, but kind of understand what the public policy is and what policy is, and kind of develop. I mean, that's any assortment of policy: foreign policy, domestic policy, economic policy. That's all extremely important, and I think you may not need to have all the answers for it. I don't think we've had anyone who has all the answers, but you need to have people there who can help you make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Trump is concerned, he doesn't have to even seem to have a lead on much. Just like you said, he's flip-flopping all over the place on things. And he says that he's going to get people hired to take care of all this for him while he's busy making America great again. But who are these people?
I just thought of this analogy. I think it's pretty funny. So it's like someone's like, okay, we're going to vote this new guy in to be the new quarterback for this NFL team. And they're like, we really like Dylan, even though Dylan is really scrawny and doesn't know how to be a quarterback of an NFL team. But we really want him in because he says that he's going to surround himself by so many blockers, and he's going to learn how to be a quarterback once he gets in office. and then that logic is crazy. Just vote the person in. Just get Tom Brady because he's clearly the best one for the job.
Yeah, and then you have Trump over here acting like we're playing Madden or something. No,
Exactly.
this is a real NFL game, buddy. This isn't a simulation. Like, you can't mess up.
No, he is Madden in this situation. He's the Madden from the Madden games where he'll just say like the most obvious things. Where he'll be like, if you don't try to catch the ball, you won't catch it.
If you're not making yards, you're losing them. And stuff like that. It's like, oh, thank you, John Madden. Thanks for clearing that one up for me.
He's the John Madden of this situation.
That's just that's something that I've seen come up, and I'd like to kind of put everyone on the same page on that. Is that if you haven't run into that yet, or that kind of opposition, that will happen, and there's not much you can do with that. At that point, it's just ignorance. If they're knowledgeable about policy, then they should be voting for him. If they're not, then what other influence do you have to change their mind if it's not for facts?
I run into people constantly on Twitter, where they'll just completely dismiss it like it's nothing. Where I'll say something about Gary Johnson, and they'll say, yeah, well, now you're just giving a vote to Hillary Clinton. And I'm like, no. You see, that's exactly not what I'm doing. I'm giving a vote to Gary Johnson. I'm not giving a vote to anyone else.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think you understood me. I said I'm voting for Gary Johnson.
Not Hillary Clinton. You don't understand what's going on here.
And then you have the argument that's just like a vote for Johnson is a vote against Trump. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, well, no, I'm actually voting against both of you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not a vote against any one person.
It's not just you. I'm also voting against the other person. So don't worry about it. It kind of cancels out.
Yeah, I don't understand people's well, I understand people's logic. It's just not good logic. It really infuriates me, but I've gotten to the point where I can respond in a very respectful manner, and I even get messages after I respond to those people, like applauding me for being respectful because they couldn't do that in those situations, and I think that's kind of hilarious how that happens. I've run into people who will say that Gary Johnson is not a true libertarian. Like, all the time, people that I look up to, like Ben Shapiro, I think he's amazing. I really like him. But he constantly says how Gary Johnson's not a libertarian and all this stuff. And, I get that. Gary Johnson may not be the best libertarian, but you have to step back and think he is more libertarian than any of the candidates out there. Way more.
Right.
And you have to look at who's the best option. And right now, Gary Johnson's the best option. He may not be the best libertarian, but you have to look and see he has the best libertarian policies or the most libertarian policies. And also, he's getting into the limelight to the point where he is bringing all of this attention to the Libertarian Party and most importantly to all of the libertarian ideologies where people are truly understanding what they believe and they really like what he's talking about. So in the future, people who may be more libertarian than Gary Johnson, who are running for office, people will see them and understand what it is because of Gary Johnson. So even if he's not the best libertarian right now, he's the best option, and he's also really, really helping with the cause. So you people need to back off, okay?
And I completely follow that, honestly. I think it's about time that as voters in the United States, that we start treating elections like a job interview, that we're the employers and they're the potential employees, because that's really what this is all about. And we kind of sit down all of the potential job candidates in front of us, and right now in this case it'd be Trump, Hillary, Johnson, and Jill Stein. And who is going to who's going to be the best person to fulfill this job? And kind of like what you touched on, he's the best one that we got. He may not be the most libertarian or as libertarian as we'd like him to be. Or I think what we touched on our previous video about is he may not have the backbone that people want. But out of those four, I think he has the most promising job background, and honestly, I think he'd fulfill the position the best out of the four.
That's 100% how I feel about that. And I just wish people would get behind it. I mean, a lot of people behind the Trump train and Hillary Clinton are just all about it. And I'm sick of facts coming out of both of their campaigns and things that happen, and people just completely look over it. And I'm just like, how? If your candidate comes out and has the FBI director admits that they have committed these crimes, and Donald Trump comes out and makes jokes about Hillary Clinton getting shot or, doing all this stupid stuff, and people just look past it like there's nothing.
Yeah, it's like we're almost accustomed to it at this point, and that's really sad.
People are just okay with politicians being liars and okay with politicians being dirty and corrupt.
That just makes me ask, are these
Why?
really the two best people we have?
No.
Of course not. So why aren't we voting for the right ones?
Because they can't win, apparently.
Exactly, and people say they get so tired of voting of the lesser of two evils, then quit voting for them.
Exactly. That's the reason that third parties never win, is because people say they'll never win, so they don't vote.
Exactly. The way you make third parties win, this is an undercover note, Dylan. I don't think you really get this. This is top secret stuff.
Clearly don't.
If you vote for someone,
yeah,
and multiple people, like the majority of people vote for one person, they win.
Well, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm being dead serious, man. If someone gets enough votes, they win. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is voting for, or who your cousin's voting for, or who your friends are voting for, or who your coworkers are voting for. Vote for who you want to vote for, because that's how you get the best person to represent you. You wonder why you have bad representation in government is because you vote for bad representation.
Because you vote for them, exactly. It's crazy. Just people need to do what Crestude. That's good, right? Crestude. Ted Cruz.
Oh, I was like, what is Crestude? I'm like, I almost started Googling that. I'm like, I need to learn what this means before I say something.
Go by what he said. Vote your conscience. Vote for who you want to be in office, not for who you don't want to be in office, because that's crazy. To vote against someone else, that's just so baffling to me. Vote for the person that you think is best for the job and you want in office. And even people who we explain this to, they'll still blow it off, and they'll still say, he has no chance. I would rather have Trump in the office than Hillary. And, I get that argument, but if everybody uses that argument, no progress will ever be made.
And that's why it's just a fallacy, man. It's like, I'm not going to do this because my friends aren't doing this. And I'm just like, what?
Exactly. It's crazy.
This is representation in your government. Like, who cares what your neighbor's voting for or what he's campaigning for? Vote for what best represents you, and chances are it's not Hillary or Trump, I can tell you that.
Exactly. Because no one knows what Trump actually stands for, and everyone
knows.
He's
not sure either, so it's okay.
And everyone knows what Hillary Clinton stands for because it's whatever's popular. So whatever's popular is what Hillary Clinton stands for, apparently.
I actually love that meme that had Bernie Sanders being compared to Hillary Clinton, and he is saying like the cool thing or whatever, and then she would just say something like really lame, and I thought that was awesome. It's just funny to me.
This last thing I wanted to talk about is I put on Facebook. I was kind of being a little negative towards Jill Stein.
No, you weren't. No way.
I definitely was. And I get it. Like, she's helping with the whole getting rid of the two-party system. People are giving her attention. She's helping out. But still, it doesn't matter. It's great that she's not corrupt. It's great that she's not a blabbering idiot. But her policies, speak volumes. People, I posted something a little negative about, all three of the candidates, and someone kind of called me out. It said, look, we may not be voting for the same person, but we're on the same side. We're against the two-party corruption system. And I was like, I get that. But Jill Stein, her policies and the way she wants to run the government, it's to the point where it completely almost gets rid of the liberty and personal freedom that I hold very dear to me. And I'm not going to talk nice about someone who is okay with taking those freedoms away from me and making everyone around me dependent on the government to the point where it's completely against the ideologies that this country was founded on. And it's completely doing an entire 180. And even though Jill Stein might be a great person, I can't talk nice about someone who's going to do that to me.
And I have nothing against Jill Stein. I think it's good that we have disagreements on policy, and we're not attacking character or attacking each other, because that's not really an issue. And honestly, I give you a lot of props for that, is because we're no longer having an argument about nothing. We're having an argument on policy, and I would agree with almost everything that you said. I have no issue with her. Honestly, I would love to see her on the debate stage too.
Yeah, I'd love to see her on the debate stage.
I would love to get her up there. I want to have 4 parties up there. Yeah. I'd love to drag her in. Not drag her. Wow. I was gonna say drag her up there, but that sounded bad, so I tried to retract myself. But yeah, go ahead and bring her up there. We would love to have, even though it's a polar opposite of what we stand for.
Polar opposite.
I think it's fantastic. I love debating people. I think it'd be fantastic to have her up there. I think she'd stir things up as well. But as far as policies are concerned, we couldn't be more opposite. But I'm not going to talk bad about her or get anything personal about it. We just have disagreements on how we think government needs to be run. There's nothing that personal that needs to go into that.
Exactly. And, that's really going to bring to the debate stage. If there is Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, they're going to be throwing personal jabs at each other. If Gary Johnson and Jill Stein are on the debate stage, it's going to be pure policy. And it's going to make the other two ones look so stupid.
And there's actually a website. I'm gonna have to find the URL again, but there's an actual website where people are taking wagers on which debate Trump is finally gonna call Hillary a bitch. You can actually bet money on this website, and it's just like, when is he gonna do it? Eventually, this guy, he can't hold his mouth, he can't contain himself. He just kind of blurbs out something, and then his campaign is like, oh well, little Trump meant this. Oh, he didn't mean he wanted us to kill Hillary. Oh, he didn't mean this. And it's just like, okay.
It's
So,
like, good luck pushing
yeah,
that.
and they're both going to be jabbing at each other all day, and it's going to be, majority of it's going to be personal. I'd love to get a tally on that, on how many points of policy we're going to attack. How many times is Trump going to bring up the previous scandals of Hillary? Not that there aren't, how many now? A dozen?
More than that.
There's plenty to talk on that, and I think it's good that we do bring that up, and that is brought to the light of voters.
Mm-hmm.
But at the debates, let's talk policy. Let's talk what you're going to present to this country and why I should vote for you.
See, that would be great, and I would love that, and I wish that that's how it would be. But the majority, I'm not going to say the majority, lots and lots of voters in America don't care about that. They just care about the personal things. They're like, yeah, I want to go up there and see Donald Trump destroy Hillary Clinton. But when he goes up there and doesn't, they're not going to care. They're not going to want to vote at all because they only care about the scandals. They only care about Trump saying stupid stuff. They don't care about the policies. And that's just how lots of America has evolved into. And I hate that. And I really wish it would go to policies. But that's just a reality that I wish would change. And I kind of push for it to change. But it's not going to change this time around. Yeah. But Gary Johnson being up there, being the adult on stage, and actually talking policy is going to make them look so stupid. And
he's even said that. He's like, please let me go up there and be the adult on the stage.
Exactly.
Like, I will sit here and talk policy. And he's said that many times. He's not going to personally attack anybody. He refuses to do it in an interview. I mean, he did call Trump a pussy, and I thought that was hilarious.
I thought that was hilarious.
But
the videos on my Twitter, it is
that's
so
like
great.
That's a single soundbite. Okay? He wasn't on a debate floor. That was in a short, like, down-the-hall interview. And I guess that's what we can name this episode of the podcast. Is just
Donald Trump's a pussy.
Well, no. I mean, we could actually, we might as well do that. But we could do just call it policy or something. I mean, we really need to be focusing on policy. That's what
of course.
What all the debates are going to be about. So, and that's kind of what we discussed here, even with our first little bit there, where I was talking about a few friends of mine. Is that we need to make sure we're focusing on policy and not on win percentage or any of this stuff.
Because this all the personal stuff, it doesn't matter when you're running for office for the president of the United States. What you're going to do with the country is what matters, not if you say something stupid on stage or saying someone's hands are really big. Like, it's that stuff doesn't matter, and people need to understand that stuff doesn't matter. And I mean, even though it may be fun to say funny things about other people, what really matters comes down is how they're going to run this country. And I think Gary Johnson's going to be the greatest out of these four candidates. And I truly believe he's going to be on the debate stage. There was articles that came out that they're preparing for a third podium, which is great. I don't think Jill Stein is going to be on stage because she's not on the ballot in all 50 states, and her polling percentage is considerably lower than Gary Johnson. But it would be great to have her on there, honestly, because it would make a lot of people realize, wait, Hillary Clinton's not the only woman nominee, and people
right.
that would blow people's
honestly,
minds.
That would take away votes from her. It's just like, oh wow, she's not the
yeah.
only woman. Okay, that's all I really wanted anyway.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap up our episode here. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things.
I'm gonna say keyword gumbo.
Keyword.
So, go ahead and I guess, is that called @me on Twitter?
Yeah, mention
me on Twitter
yeah.
saying the word gumbo in all caps, and I will give you a shout out. And I'll do that for the first. We'll do it for the first 5 people this time.
First 5 people. There were a good amount of people that decided to
yeah,
send
we've
a
been getting
last time.
Fantastic responses. I want to say I got a good 10 or 11 on the first one that I did, and I was like, whoa, holy crap. And we posted that one kind of late at night too. I was really surprised, but I woke up the next morning and I had quite a few, and I was just like, oh, that's awesome. So I guess we'll increase it to 5. I said 5, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. We'll increase it to 5 and use the keyword that I mentioned before, because I don't know if anyone's actually listening this far.
Well, there was a good amount last time, so
I went on like a long rant there. I didn't realize it took up that much time.
Ah, dude, it's cool. So, if you're listening to this long, tweet at Max Eckert, Gumbo, all caps.
All caps. Don't forget the all caps, right? I'll give you half a shout out. Actually, I'll give you a shout out in all no caps. you get nothing. It's gonna be a sad tweet if you do a low cap Gumbo. And I'll only do one of those, because if you're listening this far, because some people I'm sure just heard the little keyword and then just left.
Yeah, that's all they care about is getting that shout out.
No lie, if you do a low cap Gumbo back to me, I will definitely. We'll actually have you on a segment of our next show for a whole minute.
Whole minute.
A whole minute. They can get on here and talk about anything they want.
Awesome. That sounds.
We stand for liberty and freedom, so you can talk about whatever you want for a minute, and you have me and Dylan's time. Hopefully, Dylan agrees. I'm putting words in his mouth right now.
No, it is. But this is a good plan.
Yeah, I think if we have stuff like this every once in a while, and
that'd be great. Community involvement.
Community involvement, exactly. I think that's fantastic.
I like it, because eventually we're gonna start making this a little bit more professional. Maybe putting an extra show in for the community in the future. But that's kind of in the future. But talking about it, figuring it out.
In the future? Oh my God.
What?
Nothing. I'm messing with you, man.
Okay. So we're gonna end the episode. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to follow/subscribe and like this podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Max Eckert and at the Dylan Allman. And feel free to watch our podcast in the future, because we enjoy doing this and we love you very much. Harambe approves.
Oh my gosh.
And
I heard the funniest thing. This is awful, but on one of the comment feeds of the news story, the guy climbing Trump Tower, the glass above him was shaking, and they're saying Harambe's gonna jump out and grab him inside the building, and that's exactly what the police did.
Oh man, he was the Harambe was dressed like the police.
All right, Dylan, leave him with a little beatbox. Live chat, yeah. Here we go. See you later. Peace.
Hey, where are the white women at?
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.